speaker today. And if I can pronounce this, Hajj Khanoum Aminah Ramezany. Is that close enough?
Pretty good.
Ona, I've so been looking forward to this, and I want to know more about Ramadan. I was raised part of my life Baha'i, and we had intercalary days where we needed to fast, which is very similar to what Ramadan is about. And it's something about all day thinking about God instead of food was kind of new to me. So please welcome Aminah. And I will let you have the microphone. How's that?
Yeah, screaming at people is not good.
And Margaret, do you happen to have a song to me? You don't?
Yeah.
Yeah, after you do? And you brought your
wonderful
musical
bottle
instrument? Oh, yeah.
My guitar is so happy to be next.
As a friend.
It feels more female than your guitar somehow.
So, thank you, welcome. So, Corky was a little surprised when I sent her the actual title of my name, because I don't use it. It's awfully long. Hajj Khanoum is a designation that you have completed Hajj. And years ago in 2005, I completed my Hajj. So it's a pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia, and a lot of stuff in there. I'm wearing white the whole time, and that kind of stuff. And I was with 7 million other Muslims. So first year, that was the first year no one died, because Saudi Arabia had a big security problem with stampedes and people dying, and it was very tragic, and that type of stuff. That was the first year. To say the least, my parents were on hooks and needles. I said, by the way, I'm just going for vacation. No. Anyways, let me back up. Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Thank you. This means peace be on you. And the response is alaikum salam, and you, peace be to you. So it's a response back and forth between usually Muslims, and that is a greeting they make when they see each other. On any given time of the year, you hear about holidays from different cultures and religions. Currently, we are in the middle of an Islamic holiday called Ramadan. The D is a TH in English pronunciation. You've been setting this up for me the whole time. I'm like, yay, she's saying it wrong. Yay! Because Americans all say Ramadan because it's a D, but it's a TH in Arabic. Ramadan. Okay, so let me back up a moment. So I'm going to talk about Ramadan. I'm going to back up a moment, give you some origins of understanding about the Islamic religion. In the 7th century, Arabia became the cradle of the world's third monolithic religion. All three have begun within a small area of Southwest Asia. First, Judaism is in the region stretching up from the Red Sea to Palestine. Then Christianity is the northern end of the area, and finally Islam in the south, in Mecca, close to the Red Sea. So geographically, they all start in the same area. Each of the latter arrivals in the close family of religions claim to build upon the message of its predecessors, bringing a more up-to-date version of the truth about the one God. In Islam's case, revealed to the messenger of God, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Islam means peace, literally, in its Arabic translation. And from the same root, anyone who follows Islam is a Muslim, which means one who is at peace. It is on Mount Hira that the Archangel Gabriel appears to Muhammad. He describes later how he seemed to be grasped by the throat by a luminous being who commanded him to repeat the words of God. It was to be repeated because Muhammad, we now say Prophet Muhammad, was illiterate and could not read or write. Quran is a scripture of the Islamic religion. God introduced itself as light, love, mercy, and compassion. Everything in the universe has dimensions to it. The physical, temporal, and the spiritual as a journey of evolution. This is our phoenix, our time of rebirth. Our soul ascends to the light and love your soul is to go towards. Islam's motto: there is only one God, and Muhammad is his messenger. There are a few definitions that many people confuse. Islam is the religion. Muslim is the person. Allah is simply Arabic for God.
Yeah.
Muslims follow a lunar calendar, and this is why the dates of things such as Ramadan change every single year. So if we start on the 12th this year, it'll be on the 14th next year, and it moves as we go. Islam requires 5 central duties of all Muslims, which are believed to strengthen faith and in service to Allah. These duties are the 5 pillars of Islam, the basic tenets of the faith which all Muslims strive to perform. There are 2 main sections of Islamic people, Sunnis and Shias. All live by the same levels and tenets. Sharia, the testimony of faith. To perform the testimony of faith, one is required to say with conviction at least once in their lifetime, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Salawat, spelled S-A-L-A-T, pronounced with a V though. Salawat, Muslims pray 5 times a day: dawn, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset, and night. Muslims may pray anywhere, inside, outside, their office, home, school, anywhere. While praying, one faces Mecca and strives to recite his or her prayers in Arabic, in the original language it was delivered, from memory. Ideally, salawat is recited, as I said, in Arabic. The reason there's a specific direction, all facing the Kaaba, which is a small, empty, black building in Saudi Arabia, is for unity. Imagine the whole worldwide, Muslims 5 times a day, all facing the same way, all saying the same thing. It is about spirituality and moving and powerful. Zakat, this is almsgiving. Charitable giving of zakat is a requirement of faith for all Muslims. Used to benefit the poor, zakat represents a portion of one's wealth and assets. You give what you are capable of. Siyam, fasting, literally means any ritual fasting, but is generally understood to refer to the ritual fasting during the month of Ramadan. From dawn to dusk, the entire month, Muslims must refrain from eating, drinking, engaging in sexual relations, and smoking. Through this physical abstinence, Muslims are able to focus intently on their spiritual selves, atoning for their sins and recommitting to serving Allah. Hajj, pilgrimage. During the last month of the Islamic calendar, millions of Muslims ascend to the holy city of Mecca for the Hajj, or pilgrimage. Every able-bodied Muslim is required, as their finances permit, to make the pilgrimage at least once in their lifetime. Once one completes a pilgrimage, he or she adds a title of Haji to their name, and the Hajj must be performed as an expression of devout faith, not as a gain of social status. Years ago, that was how that was. So they reiterate that many times. Ramadan, being the 4th pillar of the faith, is in the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. The month of Ramadan is also when it is believed the Holy Quran was sent down from heaven, a guidance unto mankind, a declaration of direction, and means of salvation. According to the Holy Quran, this is a quote in English. Sorry, my Arabic's just not that good. One may eat and drink at any time during the night until you are can distinctly see a white thread from the black thread of daylight. That, then keep the fast until night. Even though Ramadan is a month of fasting and prayers for Muslims, in which the fast consists of total abstinence from food and drink from dawn to dusk, there is, however, greater significance to fast than mere abstinence of eating and drinking, sexual relations, and smoking. The real objective of fast is to instill the spirit of abstinence from sins, cultivation of virtue. The Quran declares that the fasts have been prescribed with a view of developing piety. Here are how many of the facets of piety are sought and cultivated during the fast. nearness to Allah. The most important consideration in undertaking a fast, as in any act of devotion, is to seek nearness to God, to seek His love, His forgiveness. 2, measuring and strengthening faith, creating the conditions of hunger and thirst for oneself, simply in obedience to the divine order, measures the faith in God and helps strengthen it by putting it to a severe test. Appreciation for God's bounties. Fasting enhances the value of the bounties of God, in which we often take for granted. This hopes to bring in people a spirit of gratitude and consequent devotion to God. Nothing else can bring home to someone the worth of God's bounty than a glass of water and a meal from a day-long fast. This also reminds us that the real joy in enjoying God's bounties lies in moderation, restraint, and not in overindulging. Number 4, remembering the less fortunate. Fasting makes us deeply conscious of the pangs of hunger, the discomfort of suffering, the less fortunate among us. They have to put up with difficult conditions all throughout their lives. It thus kindles a spirit of sacrifice, leading to change towards other suffering people. Spiritual training. Fast gives an unfailing training in endurance, a spirit of acceptance. This could well prepare one to put up with the unchangeable situations in life in the same spirit. Improving your willpower. I'll tell you, it really does. Fast develops courage, fortitude, and a fighting spirit to surmount the heavy odds in life with a cool and tranquil mind. It sharpens one's power of concentration. If you don't believe this, try it. Fast for, I don't mean just one day, fast for a couple. Your mind is just razor edge. It's just amazing.
Not just thinking about food?
Yes, not. Because you totally move in a different direction, knowing that that's not on the table. You should see how much time you have a day.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of hours, thousands of hours.
And once you get used to it, it's really not that bad.
Nope, after the 5th day, I think it's
Yeah.
really, really easy. I'd say a piece of cake, but that kind of thing. What a good audience. Come on, school. Do the rigors exercise all throughout the month, leading to a steel of one's willpower, resolve, and could help in challenging situations. It is seen that many an undesirable habit, which is difficult to give up, is more easily given up during days of fasting.
Mm-hmm.
Reliance on Allah. Fasting teaches reliance on God, the confidence in Him, just as a vigorous state of fasting for a whole month is undertaken with His assistance. Bitter situations in life could also be surmounted with His help. Developing patience. Fasting develops a spirit of patience, with the realization that the days of fasting, though seemingly unending, do have a successful and happy end. Thus is life. All bitter situations pass, and all come to an end. Controlling one's anger. Fasting is meant to conquer anger and develop self-control. The vigorous effort requires to put up with hunger, thirst, and can be extended to conquer other infirmities of human character that lead into our errors. Increasing tolerance. Fasting grows a spirit of tolerance to face unpleasant conditions and situations without making others of their wrath. Many people, when facing discomfort and deprivation, become irritable and annoyed. This anger is then vented on those around them. Fasting helps one become more tolerant despite their own discomfort. Clearing negative emotions. Fasting mellows and enhances one's character, giving a jolt to the human instincts of pride, haughtiness, jealousy, ambition. Fasting softens one's character and clears the heart and mind of many negative emotions. Shows our weaknesses. Fasting exposes those weaknesses. In the event of being deprived of 2 basic bounties of God, food and drink, it infuses into the one spirit the weakness and submission, generating humility and prayer. spirit of forgiveness. Fasting breathes the spirit of forgiveness towards others as they seek God's forgiveness through fasts and prayers. Lesson in punctuality. Fasting gives lessons in punctuality. Muslims have to adhere to a strict schedule of time in the observance of the fast. Possible economic benefit. Fasting could affect the economy of the individual as they have less wasteful of food and meals. It is very character building. Fasting demands a rigid sense of discipline, mental, spiritual, and physical. The forms, characteristics, which are essential ingredients to the success in life. Spiritual reformation. Fasting creates spiritual reformation, infusing one with a spirit of enthusiasm and zest to change, to become human in the eyes of God, a better human in the eyes of God. This is an excellent opportunity given each year to change themselves and consequently their destinies. Physical cleanse. On the physical side, fasting cleanses the human system of the accumulated impurities in uninterrupted eating throughout the year. It prepares the body to face diseases or conditions of scarcity. The rigid abstinence of a fast regulates health, sharpens one's intellect, and enhances the quality of a person's heart. Fasting is thus a bounty in itself, encompassing within itself many gifts. It instills the spirit of reformation, creating a wide awakening full duties toward God and mankind, towards ourselves. The good that is acquired through the fast can also be destroyed, primarily by these 5 things. The telling of a lie, slander, denouncing someone behind their back, a false oath, and greed or covetousness. These are considered offensive at all times, but the most during the fast of Ramadan. I hope I've given you a better understanding of the holiday and the pronunciation. There's a million fun stuff that we talk about, of course, and that type of stuff. I haven't ever been lucky enough to lose 30 pounds because everybody's like, oh, cool. Yeah, well, good luck with that. And that type of stuff. There's a lot of fun things that go along with as far as fasting and what we can and cannot do. And I'd like to give it a chance to open it up to questions and comments. And yes, ma'am.
If you can't fast for the whole month, is it okay to fast like a certain day of each month?
Absolutely. And let me clarify, the question you're asking is, women cannot fast on their periods. So you get 5 days off, ladies. Yeah, you cannot. This is exactly where I'm going. Thank you. You cannot jeopardize your life. If, for example, I am now on a medication that I have to take 3 times a day. I have tremors. So I'm hospitalized without it. It is therefore haram, which means forbidden, for me to fast. So that's why you have never seen me fast while I'm here. I did it for years, obviously, with Hajj and all that. But you have to be healthy. You have to be financially capable. If it for some reason, what would be a construction worker or somebody whose job is so physically demanding that to not drink would kill them, this is haram. You cannot do it.
Elderly?
If you're elderly, if you're ill, you're sick, you're on medication, there are very strict rules. And this is true about healthy fasting. This is about, I'm sure in the Reiki, their rules are very tight because it's not supposed to kill you. Because that kind of defeats the point. I mean, that gets you to God a little faster. I don't know if that was the mission. Yeah, exactly. It's everywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. But people don't understand that, yes, while a woman is cycling, while you are with a child, you're growing another human. That would be killing somebody and that type of stuff. Children under puberty are not recommended to fast. They can, work with their parents and that type of stuff, but they're in a growing state. Food is very essential to their well-being. So the rules are really broad as far as this has got to make sure that you can handle. And so if you can fast for half a day, you can fast for 1 meal, and you go through that, alhamdulillah. It all benefits to you. Yes, ma'am.
I know it varies by year, so what are the exact days this year of Ramadan?
Do you have a lunar calendar?
I don't know, I don't think so.
Me neither.
I
I'd have to get one out because we're on a solar calendar, right? The
Yes, we're on a
US.
solar calendar.
So a lunar calendar, so you know how the sides, the shape of the moon and the,
Crescent.
thank you, that's the word I'm going for. So as the moon changes, we go from the sight of a sliver of the first moon of the month, that is in the Islamic calendar, and then as soon as somebody sees, because it has to be a molane, which is a holy man, who sees it, and then they post it, literally it's everywhere, it's on the web, it's on the radio, I mean, nobody has to stand on a mountain anymore and say, oh, it's on the mountain, you know, that's what they did years ago. But it has to be somebody of the faith that says, no, the moon's been sighted. And then fasting is finished. So fasting begins that way. So a lunar calendar follows the cycle of the moons. So we're not on that on the US calendar. So let's see, we're here in May. So it should cycle to June, if I'm going the right way. It should cycle to the beginning, because let's see, we're more than halfway through Ramadan now. So it should be about the first to second week in June as we cycle through. And that's why when you see the US calendars, they have all the holidays on them, and Ramadan keeps moving around.
Is it
Because the
similar
calendar's so different.
Same thing with
Similar to the
Passover.
Jewish-
Yes, exactly.
Similar to the Jewish.
Yes,
US
Exactly.
calendar, yeah.
I attended an iftar dinner last night. Could you explain what an iftar dinner is?
Iftar is the breaking of the fast. And so the hope is that you do it as a community. Because this is a struggle. It's a time for 30 days to be together, to celebrate together, and and it's so funny because a sofre is typically where they just lay tablecloth on the ground and you think, oh, everybody dies. No, that would be really weird, but but it's bringing food to share. It's that camaraderie, it's having that spiritualness with everybody, saying, we're all going through this, you do your prayers together. It's mustahab, which means it's recommended to do these things together. It's not required because everybody's life is different and that type of stuff. And I know mine was out till 2 a.m. doing whatever she was doing. And a lot of iftar, I don't know. But it's about community. It's about bringing that response all together. What we do here every week is about sharing and having support. I had a bad week, I have a good week, I'm struggling with my fast today, and lots of great food. Lots of great food,
Yes,
especially
there is.
culturally, depending where you're coming from, and that kind of stuff. So I come from more of the Iranian line, which is much more mild, so once in a while I get Pakistani food and it's amazing food. All of it's amazing food. And before I forget, the dates are here, and I'm going to pass them. And this is what is recommended to break your fast. And tell us why, because you seem to know why. Why a date? Do you know why?
No.
Why they choose a date?
I-
Please.
I-
Yeah, one of you's got to.
That's where in their history, when we had people here from Turkey talking about, and they said that their messenger, when they were talking about Jesus, he was born underneath a date palm, and I was wondering if that had anything to do with it.
Slightly, but it's about the nutrition.
Yeah.
A date is highly nutritious. When you're breaking your fast, this is not just the sugars it pertains and all that, and I'm not a food science, but it is recommended to break your fast with this, and usually with a cup of tea. Tea is very cultural, but it gets the body introduced to food again, because you have now just gone 10, 12, 14 hours, if you're in the middle of summer and you're fasting, it's a really long day.
That's the other thing they say, that for women who just delivered a baby,
Very
the
good.
dates are the best food for them
Yes.
to be eating, and also brings in the milk.
Exactly. So dates are one of the superfoods,
Yeah.
and it's really healthy to incorporate them into your life. And these are from Costco, so you too can go get them.
You had a lady
other
over
thing
there,
that I
her
would-
hand was up.
There was a question over
I
here.
would also offer that they balance our electrolytes.
There you go.
So that's-
There you go.
It's very easy. Well, my question is actually, what led you to this path? Because it sounds like you have a great obvious love for it, and It's, it's beautiful energy, and I'm so glad that we have somebody here that can share the information, that can share it with us. But I was just kind of curious about how you were led to that, to this particular path. Oh, thank you.
Good and bad. I think all of our challenges in life happen because something bad and something good happened. When I was 18, I met some girls that lived next to me that were Muslim. And so I was in search of me. I didn't know that then. I know. Thank you guys. But I was in search of a place. I'm a fifth child. And I was really hoping I was the milkman's son, because that would have answered so many questions. Because I'm taller, I'm blonde, I'm bigger, I love different things, I'm psychic, my whole family's like, what? It's like, she came off the patio somewhere, we just picked her up. My mom and I think, started with a complicated history because she and I almost died at birth. So it was a really, really tragic, horrible event for both of us. I never even saw her for 6 weeks. She was hospitalized and that type of stuff. So you can't say that none of that manifests. I truly believe that now, coming forward, especially here with everybody, that you move forward with those relationships. She was an only child. She had 5. Mathematically, that should never have happened. But my dad was one of 6. So the balance in there. So interesting life. But then lots of my siblings were looking for spirituality. My parents were not spiritual. And so we went to every church on the planet. We traveled the country. So I got to see the country 5 times by the time I was 18. And so every time we camped somewhere, we just went to the church next door. We went to the church next door. So we got Lutheran and Catholic and Protestant and everybody. It was fabulous, fabulous. My best friend was of color. And I got to go to my first black church when I was 10. I loved it. That was so much fun. And they dressed so amazing, and the singing was amazing. And so, but I got that, so I had all these experiences, but I'm still looking. And I'm still looking because I hadn't found that place for my soul and my place. So when I came to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, my girlfriends next door were Muslim. I was very interested. I'd never met anybody. Nobody in my world had ever looked like that. And started doing that, hanging out with them, and then asking, well, but wait a minute, don't you have to walk behind the men? All the stereotypes I got out of it. Don't you have to do this, and don't they do this? And no. And learning and coming to that curve, and then meeting one of the scholars that luckily was going to school there at the time, and literally following him around like a puppy, and just asking all those questions. For me, the decision was one thing, one God. There wasn't the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Everybody had all these people. I'm like, I don't know where to put all those people. And it was just one. And I could go right there, and I could talk to him right there, and that kind of stuff. Then, did the married and children and all that type of stuff, and have never regretted it and turned back from
Did
that.
you marry somebody who was Muslim?
I did. Kind of easier to raise kids that way. Yeah, he was a cute guy that lived down the street. He never saw what coming. I'll take that one. Very
Thank you for sharing that with us. That's really wonderful.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, the
nice.
transitions are tough, and coming to my family and then finding out, and very, very religious siblings, extremely religious Christian siblings. So, but I'm so
Coming from a
fortunate.
Jewish family, you can imagine what it would be like.
Yeah. And Glory and Eileen and I have gotten to talk about it. It was amazing. Glory and I got a chance to talk about her transition through many phases. And I'm very fortunate though that my siblings, my sister specifically, have just said, yeah, that's her doing whatever that is again. But the family has stayed in my life. My family has always stayed in my life, and my siblings and I, my sisters and I are close, and that kind of stuff, and that is a testament to saying, okay, you do you. I don't know what that is, and just recently, 2 months ago when my mom passed away, I told her, they said, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm a pet psychic. And they went, what? And they're like, oh man, we're doing this again.
So it's the whole definition of namaste, right?
Thank
The
you.
divine in me
Thank you.
honors the divine in you.
Yes.
And then we are all divine.
Exactly.
And it's wonderful, and I'm so glad that we got it.
Exactly. So I hope you've learned something.
Oh,
I brought some
Yeah.
art. My only request is to not touch it, because it is Quran and Islamic, and that is something you never do, is touch the actual words and that type of stuff. But I wanted you to have some representation of some of the different verses. Don't ask me to translate them. I took cheat sheet notes, they're in my back pocket if you really want to know.
Oh, we want to know.
Yeah, we have
Okay, come on.
Yeah, so, yeah, me and Arabic. So, the green one is a gift to my daughter, and, so she said, you heard it, no, people are dying. Of course, I almost dropped it on the ground on the way in, so don't tell her. She's gonna go like, so this means submit to Allah, and remember, that just means God. We will take care of all your affairs.
Wow.
The one on the far side with a white background, let him drive. This is the paraphrasing meaning of in Arabic. It means let him drive. Let God drive. Let him lead. Drive like a car.
Interesting, okay.
Let him be in control.
This verse here on the carpet is talking about, actually it's the reverse. This is talking about driving. This one is about Fatima. Fatima is Prophet's daughter. And when we as women want to know how we should live our life, as in who do we use as an example? You've got your mother Mary, you've got all this. For us, it's Fatima. She was his only daughter, and he married a woman. This is very uncharacteristic. He married a woman who was much older than him. She was a business owner,
Right.
many times over. She was very wealthy, and everybody was after her, but this was their relationship, and this is his daughter through that. He didn't have any other daughter than her. And there's a book called Fatima is Fatima, and this is something that all Islamic women should read to have a guide to say, how do I handle my husband? How do I handle family? How do I handle setting up da-da-da-da-da-da? She lived that life.
Wow.
She lived that example for us to say, and she was a powerful, strong woman, just as her mother was, and that type of stuff. And remember, Prophet was illiterate. He didn't ever read or write, from what I understand, and the whole point was that he could not have created the book himself.
Right.
It was divinely given, and he passed that on verbatim, but he couldn't have written it because he didn't have the ability to do so.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.